Hey, Gary Coulton, caught you drinking there.
Yeah,
That's not you. That's not your. Well, normally we catch you drinking what looks like a beer, but it's a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
What are you on today?
It's decaffeinated coffee in one of my favorite RNLI mugs. So for non-UK, this is the charitable organization that rescues you if you get in trouble on the sea or inland waters. There you go. So hi. You've gone silent, mate. We've got a problem. Okay. We're with you shortly. Don't go away. Oh, he's back. Oh, here's Owen.
Good to see you, Gary. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well. It might be that it's you and me. We've had Portuguese internet issues in the past. It can be a bit, and whether or not that's our problem. Anyway, you and I are going to have a chat.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So maybe we should just tell our viewers how it is we met. And I think it must be 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, I would say it must be a good 10 years ago. Yeah.
And it was, we were both members of a really unusual business networking group called Tribe. I think it was a brilliant idea. A group of no more than 40 people, all of whom were in small to medium-sized businesses, telling each other about what they did and who they wanted to work for, and then helping each other find business. And I met a lot of my good friends, including you, in that Tribe arena. And we've kind of interacted off and on over the years, and I've always been fascinated by you and your company called Six Red Squares. So I guess the first thing is, why is it called Six Red Squares?
Well, I always tell people it's a very arty-farty rationale behind the name. Six Red Squares is a creative design agency, and we were co-founded. I co-founded it with 5 others, and we all actually went to university together years ago. And when coming up with a name for a creative agency, you go to all kinds of weird and wonderful corners of your mind in search of something that encapsulates your feelings towards the industry and what you want to achieve and what you're all about. And we happened upon some philosophy from an art philosopher called Arthur Danto, who philosophized that you could have some famous painters from very different disciplines, a Cézanne, a Rothko, a Dali, and they would all paint you a red square. And to look at, these red squares would all seem identical, but the meaning and the inspiration behind each one could be completely different. And that just resonated with us. There were 6 of us initially, so we decided on 6 red squares. And
it also meant that the acronym 6RS works really well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, when we in the early years we had very long emails that we thought were a bit clunky, so that's when we started to abbreviate from 6 red squares to 6RS. So we have that. Yeah, we have that little abbreviation as well.
And you say there were a bunch of you doing this. Did you all have different skill sets, different attitudes, like the 6 red squares? And what did you bring to the game?
Yeah, very different. I think that's why that philosophy kind of resonated with us. So my original kind of areas of interest and study were psychology and fine art. And that kind of converged into an interest in brand and advertising, which, is influenced by psychology a great deal. So that was kind of my angle into graphic design, and then a couple of our other founding members were a lot more digitally minded. We're looking at interface design and websites, and our creative director, I would say, I think he wouldn't mind me saying, was more sort of classic graphic design and communication. So yeah, we all had quite a different kind of background and outlook, and that just lent itself to a blended chemistry, which you know, we still have in place to this day.
Yeah. Okay, so your tagline is designing on purpose, and that kind of has multiple meanings, and I guess it was meant to have multiple meanings. So tell us a bit about where that came from and what it means to you as one of the directors.
Well, designing on purpose isn't actually our company tagline, but it's it's an approach, it's an ethos that we adopt. So designing on purpose is all about a deliberate approach to use design, use our creative skills to benefit the world we live in, to bring more purpose into the projects that we work on, and help our clients to be more purposeful as well. We do a lot of work with charities and sort of community-focused projects, but you can bring that ethos into the corporate world as well. And in fact, some of our, well, certainly from my perspective, some of our sort of best projects and biggest wins have come by introducing purpose to the corporate world. But I always place a lot of emphasis on the word deliberate in that explanation. It has to be something that you consciously strive towards and look to achieve with the work that you're doing.
And does that ethos mean that you select particular organizations you wish to work with, or have you found that in the process of working with them, they've kind of got the message that there has to be purpose?
It's interesting. I think we certainly have a profile of client and organization that we like to work with, who are engaged in purpose and looking to, you know, make strides, whether it be with their sort of corporate social responsibility or sustainability, or wanting to raise awareness of an important cause. But actually, sometimes the transformation you can achieve from within is something that's you know, really rewarding as well. So yeah, I would say whilst we do have a profile of organisation that we do like to work with, it's also a really gratifying thing to introduce that sense of purpose into an organisation that, you know, perhaps previously don't have that on their radar.
Yeah. Anything, Carl? Shall I carry on?
I've got. Sorry to drop out earlier on. I was boasting earlier today about my off-grid system that powers up my studio here, and I'd forgotten to. My bad. I'd forgotten to plug it in and charge it up. So it ordinarily is brilliant, but you have to charge it up the Bluetti so that it can power things. And then all manner of things ensued after that. So I do apologise, Owen, and it's great to meet you. And thank you for some cracking value already. That Arthur Danto idea is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly struck a chord with us.
Yeah, and you know, I'm working recently on, you know, in such a sort of polarized and diverse and turbulent world that, you know, we've got, if we have 8 billion people, we've got 8 billion different views. This is the kind of counter to that, isn't it? Is that it's the same end product, but it's been brought about by 6 different perspectives to come to that unifying, or what looks to be a unified result. So what a lovely and refreshing way of undermining my thinking to start with, and the beauty of, you know, how we might unify our thinking whilst respecting the fact that people have got to that point from different directions. So I'm so grateful to you. I've never heard of Arthur Danto until this afternoon, and so I love that.
Well, I think it's that's what branding is all about. Is unifying people under one banner, one cause, but still acknowledging that the people within that organisation and within that brand still have the freedom of thought and autonomy to to follow different sort of trains of belief and thought.
I'm so grateful to you because, in a way, branding has a bad name, doesn't it? In modern marketing, it's about the unification of messages and the homogenization of thought and narrowing of thought. Let's be on brand. That strikes terror sometimes for people, doesn't it? But if you rethink it and reimagine it in the way that you've done, it can mean unification, accord, and sense of purpose, whilst respecting and valuing everybody's unique contribution to a singular output. So I'm very grateful to you. I was a bit cynical. I was, honestly, a bit cynical, as I think some people do get, about branding and marketing. It can be quite a cynical business, but when it's thought of or approached from a different angle, like your firm seems to be doing, this is a wonderful thing.
I think branding is all about empowering, really.
Right.
There is that perception of perhaps it being restrictive and pigeonholing and things like that, but actually, certainly in the modern day, branding is about a lot more than that. It is about values, it is about ethos, and it's about creating something that, as I say, unifies people. And that's not just the people within a certain business or organization, it's the audience that they engage in and serve as well. So I think it can be a unifying and liberating thing.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm also guessing from Gary's the conversation where I came in, the conversation about being with companies and taking them through that process, you might remind people sometimes about this. They might have gone a bit focused in other directions in a world where, a bottom line world and rationalization and efficiency. These sorts of things can sometimes be forgotten, these beautiful things that we've begun to talk about. So presumably when you take people offline and into that process to look at their branding, you can remind them of why they're, in their hearts, why they're in the business they're in, as much as their minds and the numbers that people and inevitably end up focusing on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's all, it all comes down to emotional engagement, really. You want to win the hearts and minds of your customers, sure, but you also want to win the hearts and minds of the people within the organisation as well. And that's from, board level down to, everyone that works for the company. And I think if you can galvanise people in that way, they look beyond financial success and bottom line, because that becomes a byproduct of a well-run business and effective brand. So, it is about introducing that concept to some companies and clients, and you do get varying levels of resistance.
Of course you do.
And, some people are more ready to embrace that than others, but that's actually something that I really enjoy is kind of showing businesses how they can do that, how they can be a bit more value led, how they can sort of bring their culture to the surface, how they can just make themselves more emotionally engaging. And 9 times out of 10 that will bring their target audience and their sort of people internally closer to the ethos of the business and why it started in the first place.
I can imagine that being an extraordinary moment or process for people you work with. Is it possible? I mean, maybe it's a professional compromise to speak of it, but do you have any examples? They could be anonymous, or have you seen it elsewhere where that process takes place and a company gets sort of rejuvenated or reunited behind its mission and branding in that way?
I don't know about a rejuvenation, but I think it's amazing what you can uncover. We have a client, a legal client called Paul Robinson Solicitors, who we've been working with for a number of years. Fantastic organisation, and they have partnered with West Ham United. Now, after sort of working with them on some branding and website and digital marketing, they asked us about, how could we help them perhaps get a bit more from that corporate partnership. And we came up with a campaign called She Leads, which is all about female empowerment in the workplace and gender equality in the workplace. Because Paul Robinson Solicitors has a very high proportion of female employees. So what we suggested was creating more alignment with the West Ham women's team. And we created a really great campaign around that, which culminated in a video series where we had some of the West Ham women's team players and some of the staff from Paul Robinson Solicitors in answering questions about what it's like to be forging a career in industries that have been previously male dominated. And we did that in a really nice way where they sort of were passing a football in and out of screen and catching it, answering a question, passing it on. And we had the players at the training ground, and we had the Paul Robinson staff in a boardroom, so they were both in their place of work. And since then, that's evolved, and the marketing team at Paul Robinson Solicitors have really picked that baton up and run with it. And there's lots of networking events that take place at the London Stadium now, including one last week, which we had fantastic Q&A with the players and the manager, as well as an expert panel discussing, female empowerment in the workplace. So I think that's a really good example of how you can uncover purpose within a corporate setting.
And give some value to those people themselves. I'm presuming these are people that might not have met otherwise, and to see that parallel between their industries, and their paths might not have crossed if not for that intervention, as it were. Even if there's no public impact, there would have been some brilliant internal impact, I would have thought, with that, corporate and team impact. And then beyond that, going out into the wider world. What a fantastic project.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, actually. And I think it's, as I say, it's that sort of premise of introducing a bit more purpose from within, and the appetite was certainly there within that organisation. But sometimes you just have to uncover that opportunity to bring it to the surface, and that's a good example of where we've done it there.
And I saw that particular project on your LinkedIn feeds. And it got a huge reaction, really big reaction. And the thing about it that you've described now, and B, in those posts, there was no element of buy my stuff. You weren't trying to sell legal advice. You weren't trying to get people to attend the football matches. It was about something you alluded to earlier. And I've always said it is, successful businesses help people fall in love with them to an extent. And when it's a more complex thing, like a relationship between two disparate organizations, handling that emotional balance is really quite tricky. But, you've done a great job on that one. And I'm sure people now go to that legal company, and more people, especially girls and women perhaps, go to watch West Ham ladies team.
Yeah, I think it's it's about serving a higher purpose sometimes, and you can be pushy when it comes to sales, but actually if you can build some equity and goodwill around a brand, that's far more valuable. And it might not produce that instant sale there and then, but what it does do is set a really solid platform for a much bigger volume of sales going forward. And
as you say, it's a consequence of doing the right thing. It isn't the thing. Yeah. How much does storytelling come into your advice for companies?
A huge amount, actually, because company stories are often their sole differentiator between themselves and their competition. And the companies that tell their story really well, with passion, with articulation, those are the ones that are really memorable. And I think quite often companies can get caught sort of looking over their shoulder a lot, or looking left and right, when actually what they should be doing is looking forward or looking within, and celebrating their own circumstances, their own team, their own story.
Yeah.
Because that's what people will engage with, again, on an emotional level. And that is something that we always encourage our clients to do, is really get in touch with the culture that exists within the business and bring that to the fore.
Very
And
good.
how do you help organizations? Because I know you work with charities as well, you've said. How do you help them make sure that their purpose and their brand is like a living thing? It isn't just a poster that goes on the staff room wall. How do you help them keep it dynamic?
Well, I think a lot of this actually comes down to good collaboration with internal teams often.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly with organisations of a larger size, our job is really to empower those internal teams. It's a bit of a myth that agencies and internal teams should be at loggerheads, because it's really not the case. And good projects are always a result of healthy partnership. And when we create a brand, it goes way, way beyond a logo. We all know that, but it's about introducing an ethos, a way of talking, a way of sounding, a way of reading. How do you come across? How do you communicate on a day-to-day basis, internally and externally? And what we try and do is create, brand languages, brand systems that are kind of have a fluidity to them, as well as introducing the necessary structure. And it kind of goes back to your point, Carl, earlier about there being a perception around the constraints of brand and belonging to brand, when actually it can be a really liberating thing. So what we try and bring to our clients is a system and a language that allows them to talk passionately about what they do, as well as factually and consistently as well. So it is about creating fluidity and flexibility and autonomy, as well as putting the right infrastructure in place.
Is it IP to ask you what the mechanics of that are? How do you find out the story of a company? How do you empower and engage possibly cynical people in an organization who just want to get on with their? I mean, that's classic corporate thing. Is I just want to get on with my job and not be involved in these things. Someone else can do that. Can you tell us about that without giving too much away of your IP that makes that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about going to the root of things. Often it's you have to create alignment from the top down, but you also have to consult the audience as well, the people that are interacting with the brand. We do a lot of audience consultation. That can be anything from national surveys through to small focus groups of target audience. And we consult with them, we get their perceptions, look at what their needs and motivations are. And that helps us that informs and helps us shape an offering around those needs and motivations. So we know that the client's brand is solving the right problems, it's asking the right questions, it's pressing the right pain points. That's really important. And then the flip side to that is the internal piece, talking to stakeholders, talking to people on the ground. What's their interaction like with customers? How do they work together internally? And you really have to immerse yourself in these businesses to understand how they tick, where the gaps are, how you can improve them, and how you get them working like a well-oiled machine and galvanise both sides of the fence. So in answer to your question, it's all about discovery, really, and really going to lengths to get under the skin of the organisation and get them in touch with the audience. And that paves the way for good understanding and a good opportunity to sort of meet the needs of the audience, as I say.
So quite a big commitment. It's got to be. They've got to go kind of deep, haven't they? With this, it's not. It's not by nature. It's not a superficial thing. It has to be a committed and deep process for all involved.
Yeah, if you operate at a superficial level, you're always going to get surface level results. If you want long lasting impact, then you have to go deep with these things. It's and that that as a service and as a process can be scaled up and down as well according to the size of the organisation. So it's not always a big, intense, time-consuming thing. It's about the quality of what you're doing, not the quantity.
I'll hold my hand up here. Owen helped me with my business, and I went through his process, his questionnaire. And boy, do you have to think deeply. And it isn't intellectual questions, it's that purpose thing again. But almost, why the hell are you doing this? If you don't really know why you're doing it, you can't produce a brand. So yeah, it's
well,
it's
Gary,
thorough.
It did occur to me that that Owen might be looking at our branding here, the Positive Echo podcast in black, thinking, "Oh, these guys are just way off with this." But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. You mentioned
dependent.
Yeah, when you mentioned about long-lasting impact and results, or those kinds of words when we're talking about the process you put companies through, which brings us really nicely to what the Positive Echo podcast is about, and perhaps the opportunity to talk more personally about you and your motivations. First of all, did you say you were in the psychological aspect of design? Because that's very fascinating, I think. And then leading on from that, your Positive Echo, your impact personally, what you'd like to bring to the world of branding and design that you would be remembered for, given that this is the Positive Echo podcast.
My background, I studied psychology alongside art and English as well.
What a combo!
And I've always had a real passion for how you can communicate with people, how you can create a connection. I love the use of language, be it written or visual or verbal, to really create an impression on people. I think that's something that I'm really passionate about. I think when myself and the guys that co-founded Six Red Squares, we just wanted to be genuinely creative, and it sounds like a really obvious thing for a creative agency to be genuinely creative, but unfortunately it's not, especially these days where there's a lot of regurgitation, there's a lot of formulaic approaches. We've got tools like AI that are often misused to create volume rather than quality. And what we want to do, and certainly what I want to do, is use creative ideas, respect the power of an idea, and really champion that, and use ideas to make real world change. Ideas are the most powerful thing, and you really can change the world with them, and you can transform organizations, you can change someone's mind about something. And it's not just about getting them to buy something, it's about the causes they support, it's about the things that they believe in, and shaping their understanding of things. And we've been really lucky to work with a lot of organizations and charities that are doing amazing things. We work with people like MSI UK, who are in one of the UK's largest abortion charities, and they're fighting for women's rights to have body autonomy, and we're helping them get that message out there, and then we're helping other organisations to help with basic human rights and creating equal opportunities for people, whether that's relating to their ethnic background, their religious beliefs, their gender. So all of these things are, big issues that we and I personally believe that ideas can can help create a positive impact with.
You mentioned MSI there. That's interesting. And was that formerly known as Marie Stopes?
Indeed, it was. Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about here, isn't it? A change of perception.
Yeah.
That is exactly what we're talking about this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, you've got women still being harangued outside of abortion clinics, having things thrown at them and things like that. You've got outdated legislation. Women have only just been taken outside the law for abortion last year, and some of these laws were created in Victorian times and are so antiquated and irrelevant. And it's things like this. These are the big issues, and we want to be working in an area where we can affect and impact better understanding, tackle stigma, share knowledge and facts, and just see if we can unite people under a better standard of understanding.
Wow, incredible. So, very powerful stuff.
Sorry to interrupt. We've sort of talked about creativity, and if people search for Owen Williams, they'll also discover you're a musician, and we can't pass without talking about how that enriches your life, and maybe how it plays into your other creative activity with 6 Red Squares. So, musician.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I think if people search Owen Williams music, they'll find me on things like Spotify and Instagram. But music's a massive passion of mine, and it's been a big part of my life. And I've been lucky to perform all over the UK and different parts of the world. And I just love, again, it's that connection thing. Nothing beats sitting and playing and singing to an audience and them connecting with the words that I've written, the songs that I've created. I get a huge kick out of that, and I love going to see bands and other musicians. I went to see John Bramwell, the lead singer of I Am Clute, at the weekend at Bush Hall, who was absolutely fantastic.
And you're deflecting now. I want to hear about you.
Well spotted, Gary. Well spotted.
It's the inspiration that you get feeds into all corners of things, and I do find that it helps keep my creative energies high. I feel like I'm practicing what I preach. I'm doing something. I'm indulging my passions. I'm taking them seriously, and I think music is a great connector, and it's just something that I've always been really immensely happy and proud to sort of do on a to a decent level. And when someone sort of responds well to something that you've created, whether that's a billboard, a advertising campaign, or a song, it's always a really good thing.
My brother's a musician, and he's always said to me, the writing the music is intellectual and the playing is wholly emotional. It's as if he stops thinking when he's on stage. Is that similar for you? It's an emotional experience as much as anything?
It's a hugely emotional experience. I find it incredibly cathartic. I don't know if I stop thinking. I feel like I'm stimulated to a really high level when I sing and play. I feel, might sound a bit hammy, but I certainly feel like I'm at another level of myself. And it's kind of a different plane of consciousness for me.
It's maybe what Andy, my brother's, trying to describe it.
Yeah, it could well be. And I think a lot of musicians have that. I think it's, when you get to perform in particular, I think it does take you somewhere that, just really sort of speaks to your soul. And as I say, I always find it incredibly cathartic. And sometimes draining, but in a good way as well. I find it can really take away a lot of those day-to-day stresses and things you've probably been labouring over in your mind time after time. Then all of a sudden you've sort of created a reset, and it's a powerful thing.
So that means there's two bites at this legacy and impact cherry then. One is the design work and the music work. Maybe we should go ahead, Gary, and ask your question, because I want to bring Owen back to the positive echo, the big positive echo. But
well,
go ahead.
He leaves another positive echo, and he practices what he preaches. And again, if you look at his LinkedIn posts, very often it's his team out doing something together. It might be supporting a charity at an event. It might be not a motivational thing, but they're out doing things together. And for me, that's practicing what you preach about, getting the internal ethos matching your external ethos. So what kind of cool things have you been doing recently with your team?
We like to roll our sleeves up and practice what we preach, as you say. I think nothing beats that, immediate 1 or 2% that we as people can do. Sometimes, if everyone does that, that adds up to a huge impact.
What do you mean by that, Owen? What initial 1 or 2%? The front line of your life where you engage with society?
Yeah, I think the 6 inches in front of your face, if you can do something positive within that space, then I think if everyone did that, then we'd be in a far happier society than perhaps we are at the moment. Although there are a lot of good people doing good things right now. But we volunteer with a lot of charities, some big, some small. As I said, we roll up our sleeves. So we were with a local age concern charity only a few weeks ago, where we were clearing out their loft space to create more room for their internal team and creating more storage for them, helping them run as a business a bit more efficiently. We're due to go and plant some trees with another local charity we support, Trust Links, in the coming weeks. And it's really rewarding, but Gary, you are right. It brings the team together as well. And you're spending time together in a really, really positive way. And don't get me wrong, we do our social events like any other company, where you're perhaps having a beer or two and doing something fun. But these sort of volunteering sessions for charities really make us feel like we're delivering on what we preach, and there's an authenticity attached to that as a result. So it's really rewarding and motivating for the team, and I'm really proud of them and all the efforts they put in on things like that.
See, what comes to mind for me, Owen, is that your company, 6 Red Squares, and the team you're talking about are like a band and a men's group. I don't know what the gender balance is, but it sounds like you're friends, because that's how it started. And you're like a band, because it's like from the college days and that formation and impacting the world in this way. Is that what it's like? Are the 6 original members still in the lineup? And what is the team now?
So we're not. We've got a nice male-female split, and right. I would suggest the ladies in the office are probably the real bosses of the day-to-day studio, which is only a good thing. There's 5 of the original 6 partners still within the business, and I think at times there is that band dynamic. We've never really perceived ourselves as a traditional hierarchical business. That's not been our motivation. There's no ivory towers in this agency, and we very much see ourselves on a sort of lateral footing rather than, as I say, this kind of hierarchical flow chart. And I think in that respect, it almost gives you a collective mentality, as opposed to sort of a corporate business one. And yeah, I think that's just our makeup, and I think that gives us room to be a bit more creative and, you know, bounce ideas around between us, and that is all built on mutual respect and also respecting the different perspectives that, you know, ideas and good ideas can be arrived at from.
Sounds like a great way to run a company, and you know, in a way that a band works. You know, you'd hope there isn't a hierarchy, and it's a matter of, I guess, you know, like in any human endeavor or teamwork, managing people's skills and egos and all of that sort of thing. Which I guess it's a really good thing to have that edginess in a way, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean like you're at the edge of possibility and creativity. Cool.
Yeah, I think having an edge and being close to an edge is
Yeah.
where you come alive. It's where people do
Yes.
come alive, and so, you know, having some proximity to that is no bad thing. And yeah, I think you do just always have to respect the different perspectives that people bring. And, you know, the music analogy is a good one, because you can be the lead singer, but as any good musician will tell you, without a good bassist and drummer, you're not keeping time properly. So you know, I think it's really important to look at it in that way for us.
Yeah, and you know, over managing that then stifles the possible creativity. It's an amazing dynamic to be working with. I would have thought, and not an easy one. Not an easy one either.
Yeah, I think, you know, micromanagement, over management, over engineering things is where a lot of companies and brands fall down. You need structure, of course you do, and especially as you know, that at scale is really important.
Yeah.
But for us in particular, that particular makeup and approach works really well for us.
Fantastic, fantastic.
And I know that community is really important to you. And I think I'm right in remembering you did branding work for Southend Council. Southend is are they a city now or a town?
It is a city indeed, yeah.
Yeah. That was quite a thing to get in that gig.
Yeah, we've done quite a lot with the community. As a business, when in the early years, I mean, so we've been going for 20 years now, so it's been quite a journey. But in the early years, we concentrated on sort of London and the epicenter there, and as a result, a lot of our client base is London focused and further afield these days. But actually, since COVID, I would say we became, you know, we looked a lot closer, and we've been involved with some fantastic local organisations, and we've been working with Southend Council on the city work, and more recently we have been working with Essex County Council and Anglia Ruskin University on a project called Nourishing Our Future, which is helping early years nutrition in settings like preschools and nurseries, and helping under fives to eat more healthily. And they've got their conference this Saturday, funnily enough. And it's projects like that that are really nice, because again, you feel that proximity to it. And as someone who's got a son who's only recently gone into school, it's nice to know that you're contributing to some positive protocols around things like that, and again, sort of affecting the space around you as well as further afield.
So I just need to ask: is Anglia Ruskin? Did you say, is that a reference to John Ruskin? Is that?
Anglia Ruskin University, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another visionary in the mix today. Wow. And I must bring you back to the question, Owen, about your own impact and legacy. Positive Echo podcast, you know, and you've got a lovely range of outlets in which to express that. But what would you like to be remembered for? It just sounds so grim, doesn't it? You know, that question. But that's
like, as we know, it can be remembered tomorrow for.
Yes,
not necessarily when you're gone, but you know, each time you leave a room, what you want people to remember you for.
Yes, the positive echo.
I think if I'm thinking sort of longer term, so shall we say, I would really like people to create work that people can engage with for years to come, you know, whether that's songs or writing or understanding perceptions that have changed, you know, things that will shape people's attitudes that they'll pass on to their children, and you know that can reverberate for generations if you can make that impact. I think, you know, more immediate, I really believe in positive energy transfer, and I think when you go into a situation, whether that's a networking situation or a meeting or catching up with friends, anything, meeting strangers, I think if you've got a positive energy and you really bring that, people do feel that. They see it, they feel it, and it's infectious. And I think what I really like to leave with people, hopefully, when I leave the room, is that they think, you know, guy was upbeat, positive. I like the way this guy sees things. I'm quite interested in seeing the world through that perspective as well. And yeah, I just think if you can leave some positivity in and around people, then that's gonna catch on.
You've done that for me today.
I'll smooth your ego, Owen. I have never, ever heard a bad word said about you in any arena. So you're doing the right thing, mate.
Yeah,
that's nice to hear. Thank you.
That's, yeah. If this was like X Factor, it's 2 yeses from us, Owen.
And I'm going to steal that idea of, if you don't mind, the 6 inches in front of your face positive echo, the little things, because they're easy to do, but you've no idea what the effect can be.
Yeah, so exactly. And I think if you get enough people doing that, you know, a lot of people don't commit to bigger goals, you know, loftier ambitions or greater causes because they can't see the initial steps. And I think if we can all take a step, it's amazing the journey that you can go on collectively.
I was going to ask you this because your formation of the company, 6 Red Squares, I just, you know, I want it to be a movie of these 6 people in the room coming up with, like, someone says, this Arthur Danto idea, has anyone heard it? And it's like, Eureka, that's us. And I want to see that immortalized in a movie. And I'm thinking now, 6 young people embarking in their working lives, wanting to impact the world as people do when they're young. It's a different environment, isn't it, to 20 years ago? I think, you know, their concerns and the environment they're in is quite different, even only 20 years later. But their human urges are very similar, I suspect, to have an impact, to be remembered, to do something good and great potentially. What's your advice to those young people who might be, you know, in a band or in a group starting a company that wants a social impact like you did 20 years ago? What would you say to them now as they face a very different world, but with the same sort of motivations?
I think we've all got a fuse, and you just have to find your way to light it, to indulge your passion and really, you know, get that burning. I think, you know, when we got together, we just, we wanted to do something different. But as well as those kind of loftier ambitions, I think we followed our nose, really. I think we knew we had really good chemistry. We really enjoyed what we did, and we wanted to do it for a living. And I think one of my biggest achievements in life is that I have supported my family, bought a house, developed a good lifestyle through working with my best mates.
How about that?
And that's the thing that, you know, I'm most proud of, I think, because and that really has been through following our nose and just realizing what was right in front of us, and you know, giving it a go, being brave, just because you only get one shot at things, so you might as well give it a go.
How lovely. It's so rock and roll. I love it. Thank you, Owen. We've got Adrian chipping in. Thanks for joining us, Adrian. Sorry to be late. No, you're all right. Don't worry. Answering the question, and we love this. People picking up on the positive echo idea. What would you like to leave behind you, whether it's tomorrow or sometime in the future? I hope to leave a gentle echo, a few converts to my faith, and the Disability Rights Commission Neurodiversity and Autism Action Group Majority Report 2007. And incidentally, Adrian was on the Great Pier in Southend in August 2014. Swam there on a lovely warm day, 34 degrees. I guess it is. I mean, for Southend, that's going to be a lovely warm day, isn't it? 34 degrees. A nice one there. Memories are made of.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Owen. Gary, I don't know if you've any more to ask of Owen. We have your bit of positive news.
You have, Owen, left us with the positives that I think all of us can use. The thing that I'm really excited about is that you can be running a company with mates for 20 years, still clearly be highly motivated, creative. You've not become jaded, and it's all because you had that sense of purpose and still do.
Yeah, and friendship, wonderful.
That's what keeps you going.
Yeah. Excellent.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right. So on to your bit of positive news to conclude the podcast today.
You got the link?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Right. So
this is something slightly different. It's a where are we? There we go. If you can leave it there. I'm just going to get my glasses, then I can read the
I can read it for you if you want. Yeah. He's got them. All right.
Although I'm very visually and verbally driven, I love sound as well. I also hate certain kinds of sound as a neurodivergent, but I'm engaged with sound. So here's this project that's gone around the world looking for audio gems.
I love this.
So you go to a beautiful place and they've got bird song. They've got also an archive of wonderful things and sounds. And it also makes me recall the British Library. So, the British Library. They've got an archive of interviews with people who have regional dialects. And some of them go back to the earliest recordings you can think of. I just feel that there's a hidden positive world in sound, not just in music, but in the sound of Buddhist bells, the sound of people singing in forests. And it's a bit of a different kind of positive news item, but I really recommend people go to it. And the link will be in the transcript on the YouTube channel.
I'll stick it on the screen as well. Listen up, 3 standout soundscapes from the project. And I've done this, this is part of some of the early podcasting I did, was just to record where I was, such that people could soak up the atmosphere of it. I love soundscapes, absolutely. And it's our first step, isn't it? We're supposed to develop hearing first. And you can't shut your ears, can you? In the way that you can shut your eyes, you can't shut your ears. And it's meant to be like our first and last sense. And this makes so much sense, doesn't it?
And when we meditate, for those that meditate on sound, if you can step away from trying to interpret the sound and give it meaning, that's when you really engage with the emotional side of sound. And I'm thinking that's also when we engage with the emotional side of music. We stop thinking about it. We stop trying to analyze the lyrics. We just let it wash over us. Absolutely. So that was my positive news this week.
Well, mate, you can have salesmen hauling bottled gas around the hilly streets of Valparaiso, Chile. You can hear creaking timbers. We know that sound, don't we? The ships creaking timbers, perhaps. But here, the gentle slop of waves, and suddenly a breaching grey whale exhaling through its blowhole. Ooh. Think of the Vatican Sistine Chapel, and you probably have an image of silent reverence. In reality, the soundscape is a cacophony of chatter, punctuated by chapel attendants calling for quiet. It's a roller coaster, this ebb and flow of noise and quiet throughout the day. This is lovely, and the link is in the chat. Thank you for joining us today, Adrian, and people who will hear this as our Positive Echo as a podcast in the future. And thanks especially to you, Owen Williams. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Owen.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye for now. We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.